Happy Saturday morning. It's about 8:30 a.m. West Coast time. I have a serious question for MAGA, for Trump voters. We are almost 100 days into Donald Trump's second term. For the duration of that period of time, Pam Bondi has been Attorney General in charge of the Department of Justice, and Kash Patel has been the Director of the FBI, and Dan Bongino is his number two, Deputy FBI Director. Here's my question. Where are the mass arrests? The second question will come back to, where's the Epstein file? Where are your mass arrests? Kash Patel very famously stated on a podcast with Steve Bannon in 2023, I think, 2023 or 2024, we will go out and find the conspirators, not just in government, but in the media. Whether it's criminally or civilly, we'll figure that out. He said that's what he would do if he was named director of the FBI. I know he mainly lives in Las Vegas. He rents a room from a timeshare guy and loves going to UFC events, but he's the director of the FBI. And Pam Bondi runs the Department of Justice. Donald Trump has taken control of the Department of Justice and the FBI, and he has made those two organizations an arm of the President of the United States. Where are the mass arrests? Kash Patel put out a book in 2022 called Government Gangsters, which included, as an appendix to the book, a list of 60 people that he said, this is the deep state. These are the people that need to be arrested and prosecuted. He's 100 days on the job and he hasn't arrested a single one of them. As far as I can tell, he's not investigating any of them. Where are the mass arrests? He calls the deep state a cabal of unelected tyrants, the most dangerous threat to our democracy. So he put out a list of 60 people who he refers to as a cabal of unelected tyrants who are the most dangerous threat to our democracy. And he's not investigating them. He hasn't arrested any of them, and neither has Pam Bondi. Where are your mass arrests? What kind of person keeps an enemies list? It's a person who's made a lot of enemies. Yeah. Most of us have 2 or 3 enemies. Some of us have a few more than that. But we don't need to make a list. We don't need to make a list. So let's get to the list. Curiously, one name that is not included in Kash Patel's list is Barack Obama. I found that to be curious. I'm not going to read all of them, but let's go through a few. Lloyd Austin, Defense Secretary under President Joe Biden. I don't know what Lloyd did. Bill Barr, former Attorney General under Trump, who famously broke with Trump at the end of his term and said that the 2020 election was fair. John Bolton, the walrus guy with the mustache, former national security advisor under Donald Trump. He wrote a book and criticized Donald Trump. And he used to speak truth to power and tell Donald Trump that he was crazy while he was in office. Joe Biden, John Brennan, boy, man, this is one of their biggest boogeymen. And that reminds me, there are another 51 names to be added to this list. John Brennan is former CIA director under Barack Obama, and he's probably legitimately a war criminal, regardless of what side of the political aisle that you're on. But MAGA absolutely hates John Brennan, in large part because John Brennan was part of the 51 former intelligence officers who signed a letter in sometime during 2020, saying that the Hunter Biden laptop story was likely fake. MAGA wants all 51 of those guys prosecuted as well. So does Steve Bannon. Kash Patel and Pam Bondi haven't arrested a single one of them. Pat Cipollone, former White House counsel under Trump, refused to help Trump overturn the 2020 election. James Clapper, Obama's former national intelligence director. Hillary Clinton James Comey, who handed Donald Trump the 2016 election. James Comey, more than any other person, is, I would argue, pretty much single-handedly responsible for handing Donald Trump the 2020 or the 2016 presidential election. Mark Esper, former Secretary of Defense under Donald Trump, he wouldn't shoot protesters. Alyssa Farah, former Director of Strategic Communications, I think she's on The View now. Evelyn Farkas, expert on Russia, Ukraine, and Eurasia under Obama. Merrick Garland, of course. Stephanie Grisham, former press secretary under Trump. Kamala Harris. Gina Haspel, Trump's handpicked CIA director. Fiona Hill, a Russia expert on the National Security Council under Trump. I think she testified against him in the first impeachment trial. Eric Holder. Robert Hur, the special counsel who investigated Biden over his mishandling of classified documents, a Republican appointed by Trump. Cassidy Hutchinson testified very famously during the January 6th committee. She was going to be subpoenaed to come testify during this past Congress, and they couldn't subpoena her to testify. Why is that? Because so many Republicans had sent her dirty, sexy text messages that she still had in her phone. And she's like, you guys subpoena me, I'm going to release these. So they couldn't call her. Andrew McCabe, former FBI director. Mary McCord, former acting attorney general under Obama. General Mark Milley. Robert Mueller. Lisa Page and Peter Strzok. John Podesta, former counselor to Obama, senior advisor to Biden. Susan Rice, Jake Sullivan, Miles Taylor, Andrew Weissman, Alexander Vindman, Christopher Wray, Trump's handpicked FBI director. Where are your mass arrests? The director of the FBI has a list. He has his list. Why hasn't he arrested anybody? He's been there for 100 days, MAGA. Where are your mass arrests?